Welcome to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, the show that helps you sort through all of the trends, new and old, of the fitness world. We'll talk about yoga, running, Zumba, weightlifting, and everything in between. Whether you've got your fitness routine down to a science or you're just starting out and looking for direction, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome to GSMC Fitness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Cynthia, and happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope you all are having a very strong start to your day. Hope you all are having a fabulous week since the last time I've spoke to you guys. I've been having a fabulous day. It's always a fabulous day when I have a bomb leg day. And I had a bomb leg day with my brother, and he's super easy to work out with. And when I mean easy, I feel like my regular gym goers understand this. You can't just go to the gym with anybody, right? Like, not everyone's going to be at the same fitness level as you. Not everyone's going to want to be doing the same exercises as you, or they don't put in the same amount of and work intensity. You know, some of them just want to be there, take pictures, socialize. But like, my gym time is like my time to work. You feel me? Like, I am trying to look good, get better, get stronger. Like, we can chat, we can chat in between sets. We got to get the set done, get our reps in. And that's what I like about my brother, is that he also means business. But we still have fun, and we do what we got to do. It's fun. We had a bomb leg day, so I can't complain. I'm definitely going to be sore. Even as I'm sitting in this chair right now, I definitely feel my glutes creeping in. They're getting tight. I may need to take a nice warm Epsom salt soak once I get home later. But nonetheless, it's been a fabulous day. Why wouldn't it be, right? I woke up to see another day. And things you didn't know about water. Let's really discuss that, because you guys don't want to hear about my day. You guys want to hear about things regarding water. So we're going to be hitting some interesting facts here. And kind of how my whole interest with water sparked up is from watching Zac Efron's documentary on Netflix titled Down to Earth. Let me know in the comments if you've watched the episode or if you've watched the docuseries, and what do you think of it so far? So basically what Down to Earth is, his show, Zac Efron and this health guru, superfood guru, they travel different countries, and each episode is a different country, and each episode is around 30 to 40 minutes. And each country, they kind of talk to their leading health experts in regards to how to live a more healthy and sustainably fulfilling life. How are these countries becoming more green? So like in the first episode, they went to Iceland, and in Iceland, they showed Zac Efron and the health guru the ropes of basically how Iceland is becoming very green. They've been very green. I know their nickname there is actually Greenland, because they're all about energy conservation and not being wasteful. Something that the U.S. needs to pick up on, TBH. And basically, it's really interesting. Each country, they kind of talk about these different points about, being more eco-friendly, living more eco-friendly. And in the second episode of the documentary, Zac Efron and this health guru traveled to Paris, France, to talk to the leading, health experts in water and what they are doing in terms of water conservation for the city, and how they have made water accessible and free, most importantly, to the residents there in Paris. So in this specific episode, though, before Zac Efron and this health guru embark on a flight to Paris, they first start off the episode making a pit stop at a French restaurant in LA. And in that first 10 to 10 minutes of the episode, they bring along actress Anna Kendrick, and they're in this French restaurant, right? And usually you think like, oh, French restaurant, let's try some fancy wines, you know, things like that. No, they weren't there to wine taste. They were there to water taste. They met up with a well-known water sommelier. Yes, that's right, like a water connoisseur. And he's basically a water expert. And he's explaining to them why each water has a different taste, how water has different tastes, which waters you should avoid. And I think this was a main focal point in out of all the Down to Earth episodes. It was this specific episode about water, because this water connoisseur basically told them and had them taste different waters. And he said, you know, anything that's labeled as the most pure water, purified water, he said to leave that on the shelf. It's basically boiled tap water. Purified water is nothing but purified tap water because it strips all of the vital minerals that our body needs away. And he said to drink spring water or like aquifer water instead. But the most important or the most eco-friendly choice would be to get like a water filtration system at home. But if you need to buy bottled, spring water over purified, because he's like, spring water is natural. It comes from the earth. Purified water comes from the factories. So that was definitely a pivotal moment in the episode, even for Zac and Anna Kendrick. You know, they literally were like with their jaws dropped, as mine was as well, because I was like, what? Like, my family was still buying purified water when I was watching this episode. So as of last week, okay, just a week ago, I stopped drinking purified water because of this episode. And I immediately told my mom, I told her, we need to stop buying this purified water. I know it's cheaper, but let's pay a $1.50 more for the spring water. And so we've been drinking the spring water instead. And it's really crazy, you know, that no one ever told me this. And oftentimes we think a lot about where our food comes from, but we never really question where our water comes from. And water is essential. We all know this. We are made up of water. Every living creature and organism in, above, and below Earth need water to survive. I think in that episode they said that we can survive without food, I think 3 to 4 days, or 5 days, I think. And then we can't survive without water, I think, for like 2 to 3 days, or like 3 days if you drink zero water. So water is definitely the most essential thing on this planet. And it's crazy that, you know, this is a beverage that we drink constantly throughout the day. Well, hopefully your guys' water intake is up there. And our doctors tell us to drink water. You know, we drink water for these minerals and vitamins that our body needs. And to find out that purified water strips all of those essential minerals, it really upset me and my homegirls, okay? I was like, why has no one ever told me about this? Why has this been a secret? Why? Okay? So that is what pushed me to talk about this topic in today's episode here at the GSMC Fitness Podcast, because I'm like, there's probably a whole bunch of other people who don't know about this, and it would be wrong of me And it would be selfish of me if I didn't share this knowledge with you guys. And so that's what we're going to be discussing on today's episode. We're going to be hitting the points of purified water versus spring water, which is best, and a couple other little things you probably didn't know about the water that you're drinking. So you guys, we're going to come to a very brief break right now. And when we come back, we're going to be discussing purified versus spring water.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back to a GSMC Fitness Podcast. So, like I mentioned, I broke it down for you guys that basically in that episode with Zac Efron, his Netflix show Down to Earth, they talked to a water specialist, and he made it a focal point that Americans should stop drinking purified water and switch it out for spring water instead. So, let's see what the data says. By now, most Americans are relatively aware of the fact that plain tap water isn't exactly great for them. This isn't just the case in communities like Flint, Michigan, that have experienced and unfortunately are still experiencing a serious catastrophe when it comes to local water conditions, which blows my mind. No city in the U.S. should be without clean, accessible water. No, scratch that. No living human on this planet should be without clean, drinking, safe water. Water is natural. Water comes from the earth. Water should be free and should be accessible to every single person on this planet. And I can't wrap my mind as to why that is not it. So even in cities where the water is considered clean and 100% safe to drink, tap water can and often does contain toxic substances like arsenic, mercury, and fluoride, and so many other things. That said, it's not surprising that more people than ever are making the switch to bottled water instead. The most popular choices are spring water and purified water, but the question is one of those a better choice than the other? And most importantly, are there other solutions to consider that might be better than either of those? So that's what we're going to take a closer look at right now. Let's first discuss as to what is purified water. Before given a bottle of water can be marked and sold as purified water. Overall impurity levels need to be reduced to 10 parts per million or less. Contrary to popular belief, purified water is not the same thing as filtered water. All water is subjected to some form of filtration before distribution, plain tap water included. Purified water, on the other hand, is also treated to remove additional substances like pathogens and chemicals. That said, you can rest easy in the knowledge that any commercial purified water meets significantly stricter EPA purity standards than those applied to standard drinking water, tap water included. However, consumers should be aware that because of these strict standards, purified water may come from almost any source up to and including springs or existing tap water systems. So with that being said, let's take a further look into what is spring water. What's the difference? Spring water is commonly referred to by several different names, including well water, groundwater, and artesian water. It is formally defined by the EPA as a water that originates from an underground aquifer. Other variables attached to your standard bottle of spring water may vary. Spring water may or may not be accessed via a well. It also may or may not undergo additional treatment before distribution. However, spring water is always collected at the point where it flows or otherwise arrives at the surface of the structure in which it resides. Those who prefer spring water consider the natural filtration process to be preferable to the alternatives. Spring water is also often richer in beneficial natural minerals and other types of water. Minerals, again, that our body need. Even so, it's important to realize that while spring water is required to meet basic EPA purity standards, there are fewer guarantees in place as to the quality of the water itself. So with all of that being said, what type of water should you be drinking? Both purified water and bottled spring water are considered safe to drink according to the EPA. Both are probably going to be several cuts above water you'd get straight from the tap. That said, which is the best option between the two is mostly a matter of personal preference, availability, and convenience. Those who prefer spring water often do so because they like that it contains natural minerals. Not only does that make the water more healthful than it otherwise might be, but many think minerals improve flavor as well. On the other hand, those who prefer purified water really like the strict standards imposed on the quality of what they're drinking. Purified water is often also cheaper and more readily available than spring water. Even so, there's an option that trumps any kind of bottled water, including spring and purified, which is home filtered water. What bottled water companies don't want you to know is that the bottles themselves contain hazardous chemicals that can leach their way into the water they contain. Such chemicals have been linked to serious health conditions like cancer, hormonal imbalance, and more. So a lot of times, there's actually another big point that was made in the episode, in Zac Efron's Down to Earth episode while they were in Paris. They were having a conversation with the head woman in charge who is responsible for the distribution of clean and accessible water all throughout Paris. And she stated and made it a point that she thinks that bottled waters are one of the dumbest inventions because the bottle itself, like I just mentioned, contain hazardous chemicals that can cause more harm than good. So it really cancels out all of the minerals and, the benefits of water because the bottle itself is just so contaminated that it cancels out all the good stuff. So I'm just like, well, how should I be drinking water with my hands at this point? Because everything seems like it's bad for us. Everything is linked to cancer. Everything is going to create some hormonal imbalances. And I'm just like, why? Why is everything made with chemicals and hazardous things? Why? So that is another thing that kind of blew my mind. I was like, oh, that makes sense. She's totally right. So by investing in a reverse osmosis filter or another high performance water filter for your home, like a Brita or something, you can enjoy continuous access to water that's every bit as clean, delicious, and most importantly, good and healthy for you as even the purest bottled alternative. However, you'll get to do so without worrying about exposure to additional chemicals associated with plastic commercial bottles. Since the filters are installed right there at the point of access, they're super convenient as well. Plus, filtered water is a lot easier on your pocketbook over the long haul. And not to mention, these water filtration systems, they're more eco-friendly, right? They reduce tremendously bottled water consumption. As we know, we have a serious issue with our plastic bottle waste. So anything that we can do to reduce our carbon footprint and to reduce our bottle consumption, our plastic bottle waste, you feel me? Like, I'm all for it. I'm here for it. I'm here to assist in any way. I'm here to learn and share that knowledge with the people, which is the great thing about being a host on a fitness show, is that I get to share the power, the wealth of knowledge, things that I've learned from my studies, and it's great. Like, I love it. So I hope so far in the 21 minutes that we've been going at it, I hope that there's been a couple things that have really stood out to you so far in the episode. And the next segment is really going to blow your guys' mind, because we're going to be talking about the truth and the controversy that surrounds a really popular bottled water brand, which is Fiji water. And we all know Fiji water. She is like the top shelf of waters, right? She is the bougie brand. You're going to pay $3 to $4 for a tiny 8-ounce bottle of water. If you buy at the airport, you're going to pay about $8. So there's some controversy surrounding this popular brand, and we're going to get into all of it after this commercial break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back to GSMC Fitness Podcast. So like I mentioned in the previous segment, we're going to be talking about the truth and controversy that surrounds, the production of Fiji water, a really popular brand here in the United States, and it's also one of the more expensive ones. And Fiji water, I think, is really popular, one, for just its design alone. I mean, if you guys drink Fiji water, it's like in the shape of a rectangle, which is a marketing point, has a cute pink flower. It just looks very clean. I think also it sells well because it's foreign, it's exotic. Fiji, it's on the other side of the world from us if you live in the United States. And Fiji water is a natural artesian water. So it is one of the healthier waters. It's natural from springs, from the earth, as opposed to purified water, which is from factories. And if you've ever tried Fiji water, then you know there is a distinct taste. Like Fiji water does not taste like your normal Dasani water. Okay, we all know Dasani water is like bottom tier. Fiji water is top tier. Okay, so among imported brands, Fiji water is one of the most popular. However, there is a darker side to the consumption of Fiji water. During the production and distribution process, Fiji water leaves a large negative environmental footprint as well as negative economic consequences for the people of Fiji. In 1995, Fiji water built a factory to extract the water from underground springs that was entirely run on diesel. In 2008, the Fijian government wanted to raise taxes on Fiji water, which until that point had enjoyed tax-exempt status, and in response, Fiji water laid off its workers. In 2010, the Fijian government tried to raise taxes again, and Fiji shut down its plant for a short period of time. They eventually came to an agreement, but it left a bad impression. As usual, Fiji water has adopted tactics that demonstrate that Fiji water does not care about Fiji or Fijians. In addition to the less than positive relationship between Fiji water and the island of Fiji, the company has also cultivated a reputation of lack of follow-through at best and dishonesty at worst in regard to their environmental policies. In 2008, the company announced that it would cut its carbon footprint by reducing carbon emissions and plant natural forests. Though years later, the Fiji Water Company has only planted half of the promised forests. Fiji Water advertises their green practices on the company website, but in reality, the carbon negative plan they advertise will not be met until 2037. So that's 17 years away. It's still a lot of time for us to get there. As a result, the company shut down a section of their website devoted to tracking their progress in carbon reduction. Also, the company uses a particular square bottle that makes the product stand out from the rest for marketing purposes. The production of the bottle to make the plastic, transport the bottle to stores, and address the waste is the equivalent of filling up every bottle a quarter of the way with oil. So it's really, again, doing more harm than good. But here's the worst part. Fiji Water works in Fiji to produce this beautifully packaged bottled water shipped all over the world. Meanwhile, 12% of Fiji residents do not have access to clean, safe drinking water, according to the Water Authority of Fiji. When Fiji Water has access to underground springs, the Fijian people have to deal with rusty pipes and an only sometimes functional water system. Access to clean, safe drinking water was defined as a basic human right by the United Nations in 2010. And I 1000% agree with that, okay? Like, we shouldn't be charging anybody for water, to be honest. Like, water should be free. Free. It angers me. Oh my goodness. And leading up to my next point, the real reason why we should honestly just stop buying bottled water altogether. Bottled water is a convenience most people are guilty of taking advantage of, and there's a chance yours is one of the families that always keeps a case on hand. I know my family keeps a case on hand. They're great, for taking on the go, perfect for parties, and getting rid of the need to wash a glass. This is one convenience that we should probably stop taking advantage of, as it's got some far-reaching consequences ranging from environmental to financial. The bad definitely outweighs the good on this one. You might not even be getting everything you think you're paying for when you buy a bottled water. So we're going to take a look at just why you should take this one off your shopping list and stick to what you've got running out of your, hopefully water-filtered home. First is water usage. You've probably heard bottled water is incredibly wasteful, and most people think this refers to the bottles themselves. But have you ever asked yourself about the water used? When you pick up a liter of bottled water at the store, how much water do you think went into making it? So it takes water to make more water, if that makes sense. It's more than you think. According to the International Bottled Water Association and a 2013 survey that looked at the water use of the bottled water industry, it takes an average of 1.39 liters to make a single liter of bottled water. The extra 0.39 liters might not sound like a whole lot, but it adds up fast. Given that the entire market study included data from the manufacturer of 14.5 million liters, that's 5.66 million liters of wasted water used in final production. The IBWA points out their total water usage is less than other parts of the beverage industry. But two wrongs don't make a right, and some environmental groups aren't convinced the numbers are anywhere near acceptable. Urtik Ersin, he's a spokesperson for the Water Footprint Network, says the industry's impact is even farther reaching than that. He says when you include the water that goes into making the packaging materials and bottles, you're looking at more like 7 or 8 times that number that I just mentioned. 7 or 8 times 5.66 million liters. Okay? That's insane. Absolutely insane. I just don't understand. Okay? Figuring out whether or not bottled water is actually a safer option than tap water is a bit of a tricky thing, and there are a whole bunch of variables. If you're living in an area that has a contaminated water supply, like Flint, Michigan, then bottled water is the way to go. But otherwise, studies are still out on the matter, and most seem to suggesting opting for bottled water isn't really doing you any favors. According to the Mayo Clinic, bottled water and tap water are pretty much governed by similar safety standards. While the FDA regulates the production of bottled water, the EPA oversees the country's tap water supply. The first regulations regarding public drinking water were made in 1974 with the Safe Drinking Water Act, and that act has been updated over the years. Gradually, the FDA adopted most of the same rules and regulations when it came to monitoring potential contaminants and levels of various chemicals like lead. Now, the two agencies go pretty much hand in hand with what they allow in water. The FDA considers bottled water to something of a low-risk food, but bottling plants still need to be licensed every year. Even though they're monitored, they're not held to standards that are any different from the guidelines the EPA uses to monitor drinking water, and bottled water is allowed to have the same level of contaminants as your tap water, which means it's equally safe, not equally contaminated. Some studies have even found tap water can be better for you than bottled water. According to researchers from Glasgow University, they found some companies can store bottles of water for months before they even make it to the shelves. Factor in things like the idea that an open bottle of water left in the fridge can very quickly become contaminated from the outside environment, and suddenly it's looking less healthy. There's also the chance of contamination from someone who picks it up and breaks the seal at the supermarket, and that all means bottled water safety isn't all it's cracked up to be. So there's just so much that goes into all of this, you guys. Like, I can go on and on and on, but for now, that's going to wrap up today's episode here at the GSMC Fitness Podcast. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode and learned a thing or two about water. I know I definitely did. If you liked today's episode, then please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff, because that tremendously helps the show. And I'll catch you guys here for the next one.
You've been listening to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, and any app where you listen to podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, we cover it all. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook and listen to these podcasts on YouTube. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.